Hello and welcome to Booktalks, where we talk about books, drama, and our bookish opinions. Today we'll be discussing AI and popular BookTok books, such as the recent controversy surrounding Shy Girl, Silver Elite, and Daggermouth. For more content from us, you can find us at Literary Liberation around the internet. We are currently raising money for the Cuban flotillas through Code Pink, so there will be a link in the description below to donate to that. I'm your co-host, Kristen. You can find me at TensTBR on all social media platforms.
And I'm your co-host, Mariah, and you can find me at Hungry Rye on all social media platforms.
So this is us actually hitting a hot topic, kind of, as iron's still hot, kind of, but I feel like by the time this goes up, it'll probably be cooled down by then, and maybe we'll have more information. But everybody and their mother has been talking about the new release that was set to come out. I don't think it ever ended up actually releasing in the US, but Shy Girl by Mia Ballard is a women's horror novel that has recently received some AI allegations, and so then it got pulled from shelves in the UK because it was already published there, and then now it will not be being published in the US, and so it's
This has been
drum
the
up a lot of controversy
for Chris and I to want to talk about some other books, and also the accusations towards Shy Girl, because it is very popular. We're just going to talk about it in general because why not? I think we see a lot of posts, and sometimes they'll come to really weird conclusions.
Yes. Well, I think one of the biggest issues right now too is people declaring things that they don't like as AI, and that is inherently problematic just because it's diminishing the idea that regular people can't make sucky things, and so I think that's inherently problematic too. Just because something is bad doesn't mean that it's AI. I will never read Fourth Wing, and I don't like Rebecca Yarros, but I wouldn't declare Fourth Wing as being AI generated. I just think Rebecca Yarros is a horrible person.
Draw the comparisons to plagiarism often gets thrown in, or perhaps people don't seem to realize formulaic is another term that is thrown around towards these books with AI. And as somebody that has almost 100% confirmed read an AI novel, I feel like I'm particularly, seasoned,
more versed
for this. And I read a lot about AI, so, and we talk about books. This is the perfect format.
Yeah, and I think with the way that generative AI has become so normalized, this is a problem that is not going to go away anytime soon.
No, we're going to be seeing a lot more of it. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but maybe we can talk about that towards the end, our predictions based on what's happening now, and whether or not people are being a little bit too skeptical, too harsh, or if it's ample, or if it's not enough.
Yeah, well, because this is one of the first problems people have had with AI, even though Gothicana released a couple of years ago at this point. I want to say 2024, maybe 2025. I think 2024 though. And that was kind of whenever AI generated photos and stuff were kind of getting more normalized, and we're still within that realm of the authors using AI generated covers. And in reality, that hasn't had much deterrent for people to not read books. I mean, I think a lot of principled people and people that are actually critical of AI, they will be ones that be like, hey, this photo is AI. And I also want to say too, whatever we discuss in this video, it's all alleged too. We're not saying anything is guaranteed AI generated for sure. There's just a lot of evidence that points these into that direction. Gothicana, it's never been confirmed by the publisher or the author that the photo is AI, but there's been plenty of people on TikTok doing deep dives of the cover, zooming in to where there's a gate, and the gate randomly ends without making much sense with all the flora and different things like that. And there was virtually there was a little bit of uproar, I think, on BookTok whenever Gothicana was released with that cover, but not enough for it to not be a BookTok book still, versus the hate that Shy Girl is getting.
Yeah. And I mean, I think initially with Mia Ballard, I think that's how you say her full name.
Hmm.
But she had another book that I remember seeing. It was constantly recommended on like horror
I think
books, and it's
Sugar.
called, yeah, Sugar. It has like the mouth, which so when I saw Shy Girl, I knew that the author had written something else that I had known of, but the reason it even got my attention and I started seeing more stuff about it was one, the way that people were describing it, and then very quickly people were realizing that, hey, this is stolen artwork, not AI generated,
Yes.
but the cover was stolen
She
off of
said,
Pinterest apparently.
yeah, Mia Ballard found the photo off of Pinterest and she didn't take the whole photo. It's like a painting of a dog and like a background. She just took like the dog out of like the painting and then created her own, which it's really interesting to me because like I feel like AI book covers, I don't know if maybe it's because they're easier to spot nowadays. A lot of people are better at identifying what is an AI artwork, and that's why she didn't do it. Which she says again, this is what Mia Ballard has stated, that she has not used AI in her book. She claims and has alleged that she had a friend that was an editor and they edited her book and they must have ran it through an AI prompt, and that's how there's so much AI within it. And because I know like the evidence of it is kind of like he said she said sort of thing too, because there's also like New York Times I think reached out to the publisher to be like, hey, what's your opinion on you guys publishing this AI book? And the only evidence they had is some tech bros tweet saying that his AI checker is 100% or 99% accurate, and it's alleged that it's all AI, which is really interesting because you've also seen people put in like Tolkien's work into like these AI detectors and it'll be like, this is 100% AI, when we know like Tolkien's work is obviously not AI.
I don't know if people don't realize is like when you throw something into these like AI prompts, it's not leaving behind some sort of secret marking within the
Mm-hmm.
code. Like you're copy and pasting
The
text.
photos are usually, if you can get a digital photo or video, I
Mm-hmm.
know you can check like I think there's like a Google Gemini, like some photo generation ones do have like the inside like the file or whatever somewhere it does like show that it's generated, but text is a lot harder to do because that's just something you just copy and paste the letters into a Google Doc or whatever have you, whatever document, and then like there's no way to really check it even, because acting as if to like I know people were talking about the controversy too because the guy that like did the AI checker, he did a pirated version of the book, which Mariah and I have discussed a little bit our opinions on piracy and stuff. So then they're saying that maybe that since that's not an official channel of what it was released, that that could be where the AI checking is coming in, which I don't necessarily agree with, which
Which is silly. I know that there's definitely issues with like pirated copies, and like for example, there was a copy of Daggermouth, which we're probably going to talk about as well, that had gotten ripped off the internet and like re-uploaded to Kindle Unlimited with an AI generated cover or something. That was like a whole debacle, but like
I didn't even know about
I don't know.
that.
Just the AI checkers in general, like even students in college, like if you go
Mm-hmm.
on TikTok and you search it up, there's people like, "Hey, I wrote this and my professor's saying it's XML AI generated, so I'm failing." And
Yeah.
I, it's just not accurate in general. Like there's been no like good
And
correlation with
unfortunately,
checkers. I don't know.
the only way we can hope in the future is that mostly that the AI bubble pops, because unfortunately, I don't really think that there is a way that we will be able to accurately counteract this in
No.
society
And I'm glad
to
people are being vigilant and wanting to be on top of it, but there is definitely consequences with the accusation of AI. But I will say, I did get a copy of Shy Girl and I was reading through it, and it's written really weird. Like every single sentence has at least 1 to 2 commas. Like everything is really broken up or very segmented, and it almost felt like if you've read Walking Practice by Dole Kamen, but Dole Kamen, you can tell like it's a cohesive story, but there is something very off about Shy Girl, and I don't know if that was intended, if it was meant to feel that way, like as an artistic
I
choice or not. But it like it was cohesive. Like the story translated pretty decently, but the actual I could see it being running through and like the editing, like if it was meant to make it sound I don't know. You know, like it's not writing the sections, but it's checking your punctuation or like
And
correcting
like
different
making
phrases
it
like you would
better,
have on a
better.
like Word, quote
Yeah.
unquote, like the program.
Well, it's really interesting too because um there are a few creators that Mariah and I have followed too that originally before like the controversy about Shy Girl being AI generated, they were kind of like hyping up this book. I don't know if we want to name names because you know,
I won't, but I do think it's strange. And then
and then
those
now that the
same
controversy
reviews
has
are gone.
happened, yeah, now that the controversy it's like happened, these it's been more than one creator too. So don't think that like whatever creator we're calling out is your favorite creator too. It's been multiple creators. Mariah and I each had our own individual creators that we experienced this with, where they've had no comment on the Shy Girl allegations. And it's also interesting to me too that Mia Ballard did not receive these allegations for her previous novel at all. Which I don't know if people are going back and reading it and maybe being like, oh, this does have AI in it or something now, but I don't know. Maybe that one we could review on.
I don't know. I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
if it's very good. I just remember seeing people talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
but it had to have been good enough where she got a secondary book that got trad published.
Well, but I don't think that book got trad published. I don't know if Sugar did. I
Oh no,
know,
no, no! I meant
like,
like Shy Girl. Like obviously the
oh,
first one did really
well, but
well,
Shy Girl
so
was
the
indie
second one got
published
picked up.
first,
I know it's weird. I
and
don't.
then picked up.
Every time we have this issue, I'm like, I need to like research more on how like publishing works. I think it would make more sense.
Well, because I think the main thing too with which we'll link this below too, the big thing that got like everyone talking about Shy Girl was Frankie Shelf's video, which I didn't watch because I was like I was kind of planning on reading Shy Girl before I saw like the actual like this book being AI. Like it was already on my want to read. Now I'm kind of rethinking it where I don't know if it's worth even reading, you know? But
Even then, it's like the only way you're gonna be able to get it is if you pay $70 on eBay to get a
yeah,
copy,
that's
or
crazy.
you have to go. Because I was gonna try to buy like an EPUB file. You can only get it off of like the internet. You have to go find a copy of it because it's completely gone. Like you cannot get this book anywhere. I've never seen anything like this where it just disappears
I mean,
in
they were
this way.
pretty fast about getting it offline too, which regard like to me there's been other what makes because the main question is too what makes this book the one that is removed from all shelves versus other novels have had AI allegations but they're not held accountable, quote unquote, what I'm saying, versus you see people that were giving like a black woman author like the benefit of the doubt versus like Silver Elite having major AI allegations as well. But then
Which we could talk. What are the allegations for Silver Elite? Silver Elite is another dystopian. I think it's one of the first big ones that really popped off on Book Talk recently.
last year,
And yes,
well,
that's
because
right. Okay.
yeah, it was last year. I tried to read it. I DNF'd it at 56%, which me DNFing it does not mean that I think it was AI. I didn't finish it, so I really don't. I also am not like super well versed in like how there was no like prompts in it where it was like write a dystopian fantasy blah blah blah, like where people have caught on multiple KU books. There's been I've seen on Twitter and TikTok multiple times where the author quote unquote has left the prompt in, so then you know that that's the only way that you can know for sure if a book is really AI. Versus people think that Danny Francis, because it's an alias for allegedly a popular author, we don't know who it is, nobody's discovered who it is in any way shape or form, just not somebody, it's just somebody who has never wrote a dystopian romance ever, and this was like outside their genre, so that's why they wanted to. But there was a video that I watched by Meredith Novako, don't know if that's how you say it, but they had a theory that they think that this book was AI generated by like a publishing house or company, because it was right whenever like generative AI texting was getting very popular, and they think that they could kind of get like profit off of like people without having to pay an author, basically getting rid of the middleman and stuff. And I watched the video. I didn't really necessarily agree with a lot of what she had to say. I will still link it below. People can watch it and make their own opinions, because one of the things that weirded me out the most about like her evidence, because this is like the main thing that I'd seen about, like, besides like just random TikTokers being like, this book is AI because it's bad, you know. She was her piece of evidence is there was a quote in the book where it says, I don't love them either. The capitalists are the richest of the elites, owning the bulk of the corporations in the continent, a small group of men and women in the general's favor, always happy to collude with the company. Um, and I highlighted that quote whenever I was reading Silver Elite 2 last year. But she was criticizing because she thought that people don't call people capitalists, and that was like one of her examples, because she's like, that's just worded so weird. And I was like that kind of like deterred me for the rest of her
You're like,
evidence and what
ooh.
she had to say, because I was like, not really. Like, that is an accurate description of what a capitalist is.
It's like
People are
holding the
capitalists.
collar, stretching it out. Ooh.
Yeah, and like
I
she
feel
basically,
called out.
and she was like the only like person to ever call somebody a capitalist was in 1984. And so then I was like, oh, I don't know about that. And she was saying that we don't use that in the modern era. And then throughout the video too, she was comparing it a lot. She was basically saying like Silver Elite is like a bad fourth wing, and so like her kind of glazing fourth wing throughout it really kind of turned me off too. And she was saying that like Silver Elite had really bad reviews and everyone was hating on it, but it also has 4.1 stars on Goodreads. And the only people that I've seen really hating on it are like people as cynical as us. Like
I
the
still need to read it. I
masses.
am going to read it because, like, next on our thing, because like it's included, is Daggermouth. Because that was another one that was like included in this is Daggermouth,
Yeah.
which I read. It's not good, but it's not AI generated. I know
And
some people were throwing around the and that's the thing. It was like H.M. Wolf is another Black author. I think it's
yeah.
weird that AI is just being used against these authors, but then you're having. I'm curious what the new Sarah J. Maas book is going to read like, if it's going to
Yeah.
have any sort of those elements. This is very speculative because if you don't know anything about like the Akatar community on Instagram or whatever, they are
They're
so
ride
into
or die for
generative
that white
AI.
lady.
It's so crazy though, but they're the ones that are like cancel culture isn't real, or if it is real, it's against us. And then they are always making like the whitewashed like Lucian fan edits or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really keep up with a lot of ACOTAR people, so
Really,
not at all.
there's some really big quote
Thank
unquote
God I
like
don't have to see
AI
that.
artists on Bookstagram. They're so
Yeah.
into it. It's terrible. I see it on Facebook too.
But that's the thing, is that like Sarah J. Maas has been writing books since before generative AI was normalized, right? Which Danny Francis, if we're assuming that they were a popular author before Silver Elite came out, I mean, generative AI, like texting wise, probably didn't become in the mainstream really till 2023, 2024. So I would imagine that if they are actually like a notable author, they would have other work that's pre that time. So then their other work, I'm assuming, is of the same quality. Like, human beings can just make bad art. Like, that
And
is.
that's good. That's okay. That's good. Bad art's
And
fine.
just because art is subjective, people, just because it's bad to us doesn't mean that it's bad to other people. And yeah, some people may have bad taste, but that's also subjective. Like, there's people that hate on Dungeon Crawler Carl. They're wrong, but they think it, and you gotta let people think that stuff sometimes.
It's just
Till we have the
healthy that
gulags.
way. I think in a lot of the reasons that are being thrown around, right, is like potential plagiarism, the formula in which books are written. They're like, oh, it's all the same X, Y, and Z, so it's got to be AI generated, and like tropes. I think those are like the main three. Formula and tropes, I think, are pretty close because sometimes these, especially in the romance scene, authors will write to fit the trope in because they know
Mm-hmm.
it sells, which is a whole other ballpark. And
Which,
like I think it's all gonna fall back on like capitalism as it's functioning right now.
of course. Well, but what I wonder too is that maybe also too people are becoming more critical about what they read because BookTok has, I mean, Barnes and Noble opened more stores this past year or whatever than they ever have since like 2010 or whatever because more people are reading for pleasure and because more quote unquote like normies are reading for pleasure. The more you read, obviously, the smarter you get. Like, that's something that we advocate for on this channel all the time is to read more even if it's not necessarily like peak literature. But the more you read, the more intelligent you'll become. And so then I think these people are becoming more critical of the simple books that were originally what started Book Talk. And so now that's why Book Talk is so different than what it was even in like 2020, you know? Like Colleen Hoover, like she had a new book come out, but I did not see very many people on my side of Book Talk even like mention it, you know?
No, I only see any of like those authors, like the Colleen Hoover or Frida McFadden, when it's on Goodreads, like on the banners, because I
Yeah.
think they have like their people that read their books, and it's
Yeah.
like 50-year-old moms that are reading them. Um, but it's really interesting to see, and I've been thinking about this too because this year, and I get it, like your algorithm is suited towards you. A lot more serious, like science fiction, a lot more adult fantasy, a lot of classics. Like a lot of people are picking up The Count of Monte Cristo this year. It is poppin'. Same with Beast of
Yes,
Eden.
I've seen
And
that.
then we're seeing like these movies that are getting produced based on older texts, like The Odyssey. East of Eden is getting a show. I thought there was another one. I can't remember what. But these like big classics that have like
Mhm.
withstood the testament of time, like obviously there's an indicator here, like people are taking it upon themselves to self-educate, which I they don't even realize they're doing it. I think that's crazy.
Yeah,
Literacy is
and
so cool.
well, that's the thing too is that with everybody's literacy increasing, like I bet if Silver Elite came out whenever even like I was first getting back into reading as an adult, or even if I was in high school, I probably would have loved it, you know, because my standards were lower. I didn't know what I liked as much, and I didn't have the same opinions and thoughts that I do now. But then as you grow and learn, your opinions are going to change. And I think like that's one thing that happens with even like Frida McFadden and stuff. Like so many people will read her like whether whoever it is, but then now they're like, oh, like Frida McFadden's new stuff sucks. Where it's like, does it suck or does has your consciousness just changed based on what you've learned and read and had different experiences with? Because once you read like a book that like changes your brain chemistry, that's going to shape how you read and experience other novels too, you know? And so that's something that's so important where I don't think it's necessarily even productive to like say that anything that you don't like is AI, but also we AI is a problem. Like it is something like the main issue with it is that it is so exploitative of the workers, right? It's stealing other people's hard work and passing it off as its own, and it's also how ChatGPT works is that it lies. It's not accurate information that it's giving to people, you know? And so that's one thing that's makes it so harmful rather than it being like the end of the world, you know?
And I just don't think people realize that like part of the art that is writing and like what makes books so wonderful is the human element. It's
Yes.
the author. Like you're getting, like I think about this all the time. Obviously we love Dungeon Crawler Carl. So we love Matt Dinman, and just this the idea that he's this man and he's able to concoct this in his head. It's wonderful. Like it's such a cool aspect of humanity and just like human evolution that we've gotten to this point. And now we're using these tools, which I think there are benefits to some like artificial like intelligence programs. Obviously they're not going to be seeing the light of day, or they're being used in a way that is destructive, as we've like talked about many times before. But it's like it's humanity, like it books and art, especially be made with like people.
Yeah, and that's one thing too, like, I mean, that's like our main goal of our channel too, is to talk about like the way whatever the author is trying, their authors, whenever, that's one thing too, like reading is political, and whenever you pick up a book, whatever book you decide to read, the author is trying to put something in your mind, whether it's to Dungeon Crawler Carl to fight against your oppressors, or if it's another like literary classic that's just asking you to be more critical about like the people around you or something like that. One of the joys of reading is trying to figure out what that author is trying to explain to you and teach you, you know, and not, you can't get that from AI because what it teaches you is false 90% of the time.
And a lot of like the AI book that I write, it's like lacking emotion. There's no like real characterization because it can't concoct that. And this is not to say that humans are capable or more intrinsically capable, I guess, of writing a like a better character, because some people cannot. And that's part of the
No.
bad art. And I think that's what people are conflating, is that some people, they are. We're going to keep circling back to this. They're just bad authors, and that's okay. I think we can acknowledge like it's, but if you want to write and you
Sometimes,
want to, people are going to read it and they're going to review it, and that's just all there is to it at the end of
and
the
that's the
day.
thing. Well, and one thing is too, like whenever people go into publishing or go into writing or any type of artistic endeavor, you have to be bad at it before you can be good at it. You're not just born with all of these skills to just be able to birth out it. You have to practice. You have to learn the craft, you know, and using AI in any way, shape, or form is not you yourself practicing and learning how to use it. It's learning how to use ChatGPT to do it for you, you know? It's learning how to
How to
use,
input prompts into
yeah.
ChatGPT to generate the best, your vision of the best option that it can create, which is
But then it's not
it.
even your vision at that point either. It's what a
Yeah,
computer
like you
interprets
don't
as your
have
vision.
imagination. And I get it. Like the book publishing industry is, it's got to be hard and competitive to get traditionally published, but indie publishing is so prominent. And with KU, I just feel like if you are, you have to take, I don't know what I would call it. Like you're relying on a computer program to kind of like fill in the gaps that you don't have, and
And
it's
not even
cheap.
to mention, like, just because you're using ChatGPT to write a book does not even guarantee that you're going to get traditionally published in any way, shape, or form. I mean, how many, I bet there's so much slop that's indie published every day too. And that's one of the great things about Book Talk is that there's so many influencers on there that vet and consume these books early on, and they're able to be like, hey, this is worth your time. And that's why like things like Daggermouth, whether or not, I mean, I don't know, I haven't read it. It's I Mariah doesn't think it's AI, so I would assume that it's probably not AI. But the fact that that book was just an indie published book from one single author that probably had no plans of it to get as worldwide famous it is. It's currently like a phenomenon on TikTok, you know? Like you can't go one video without seeing now reading Daggermouth, currently reading Daggermouth. And that has nothing to do with like chat gbt doing that or anything like that. I mean, there is like artificial intelligence with how like the algorithm works in that way, but it's not a way that's like a robot doing it. It's because the people that are reading it are enjoying it, whether or not we agree that that's a good book or not, you know? It's what the masses are viewing as good.
Yeah. And I think there's like also this element of like you're spending just based on how much books cost right now. If you were to go out and buy a copy of Shy Girl that was going to be hardback, because very seldom does it come out just paperback, that's going to be like 24, $28. What? And if you are like, you're expecting to buy someone's art, right? Do you want to pay for a chat GPT like
There
text?
has to be an ounce of quality to
Because
what
even
you're
when I read
consuming.
shitty books and I bought them or I read them on KU because I get paid for the amount of like pages spent in the book or read, I don't remember exactly how it works.
I think
I
it's based on
don't feel
pages you read.
bad. I'm like, at least they got like their money through that. But these are like the instances where like I think pirating books like this is going to become a lot more prominent. um because like why would you want to spend your money on that? to own it with the possibility that it is not written by a human. I don't know. It really pisses me off. I think about it. I was like, I am here for a story concocted by the human brain.
Yeah. And it's just, it is frustrating too, because there's no way for us, especially with, as chat gpt, well, I say chat gpt, but it's like all of whatever. I don't even know what the names of the different ones are. I think there's like Google Gemini, and that's like it, because obviously Ryan and I do not use generative AI at all. And just the more that these people are inserting prompts, it's the smarter it's getting, and maybe even better, it'll be able to replicate human art. But I feel like people have gotten so good about spotting it that hopefully that won't happen. But then the problem is that you also have people that can't spot it, and that's why these people are getting like allegations toward them that may be unfounded.
You know what my theory of what's going to happen moving forward with all of this? I think that people like you and I are going to turn towards going and seeing live art again, like plays, Broadway, musicals, opera, ballet, stuff with real humans performing their art. Whether it's somebody reading poetry or going to a comedy club, because you're the likelihood that somebody is going to use AI for those, especially if it's like an adaptation of a classic like Shakespeare or something, you know, like you know what you're gonna get. And I think there's gonna be a lot more community. Like I don't know if the capitalist class is able to see so far ahead, or they just don't
I mean,
think that the working class would pick up on this. Is like, but this is indirectly helping us form community better.
well, I think one thing that is working, because there was the AI app that was like making videos.
Sora.
Yes, that app is getting shut down. Don't ask me what company owned it, but they were having that like earlier in March. There was a Disney deal where Disney signed with that company, like basically giving them the right to use Disney characters and stuff like that on their app. But then the app closed down, and then Disney pulled out of that deal. So to me, seeing stuff like that, seeing Disney specifically, one of the largest monopolies and corporations here in America, I think even technically worldwide, pulling out of like something specifically AI, which has been being funded by fake money being passed around in the stock market, right? Um, Seeing that, getting $1 billion like deals turned down, it's hopeful for me, because like, to be honest, like everybody's so worried about like the economy crashing once this AI bubble pops. Let it. That's my opinion. Like honestly, let it happen. I don't have that much money where I'm going to be affected by it. You know?
No, and I think this is another instance where I think accelerationists, they do hold some merit in some regards. Like this
Yeah.
just there's no reform in it right now. I think it should just run into the ground and explode.
I mean, I hope the AI bubble pops. I mean, there's literally no benefit of it. Most people do not. I mean, I know like ChatGPT and all of these, they're not as popular as what they wanted to be. And I really don't even understand why what benefit does the capitalist class really gain if we are not consuming the art from it?
I think they're
Nothing.
realizing like, okay, we can use this to automate out your labor when it comes to like factory work, like with the way that Amazon functions and the different AI protocols that they've used to lay off like tens of thousands of employees,
Yeah.
especially like the UK. Um, they're realizing like the arts though, like I think the arts will always be strong. The arts is
Mm.
it's always more like the liberal progressive side of things, and the
Which.
politics, like everything's intensifying.
Mm.
We're because of fascism, so like we're having the internal contradictions that like Marx and Luxemburg and Lenin had talked about in their various works, where you have those high highs and low lows. Like it's getting to a point. We are at
Yes.
the point. We're at the precipice of something really big, and I can only hope that we succeed.
um Well, because that's one thing too. Like, just with the way that, like, the thing is that while Mariah and I are pretty critical of AI, we're only critical because it's the reason why is because it's not benefiting the working class, the working people. If there's a way for like generative AI to actually help like the menial tasks that like workers are already getting their surplus labor value like taken from them. If there's a way where like the workers could retain more of their actual labor value, then we would see AI as a benefit, but that's not possible. And I mean, there's also like the environmental aspects of it too, which we won't go too much into because there are counter arguments to it where people like to say, oh, well, factory farming is worse for the environment, which is also true, but at least factory farming is feeding some people, you know?
Yeah, like we don't actually need the artificial intelligence
Mm
to live. Like, yeah, like frivolously, like having artificial intelligence is how you have any sort of social media nowadays because they don't go in chronological order.
hmm. Mm
They're
hmm.
curated. It's all AI, right? But it's just like the severity and the way that people are using it to write like their own grocery lists.
That's crazy to me.
I don't understand. I will say though, this is my parenting win is that my children they can do a lot of things, but they can't grow up to become cops or be in the military. They can't be politicians, and they can't use Chat GPT. So I only have four rules in this house. I don't care what color your hair is or what your gender is, but like you got to be on the side of the oppressed. Period. Like
You're
that's
working
it.
class.
Or
You
you're
will
on
be
the
working
no.
class. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's just like it's an incredibly slippery slope that we're on right now, whether or not every bad thing is generative AI now or every good thing is made by humans, which you can't have that blanket statement over
No,
anything
it's the
anymore.
false binary or dichotomy that has been formed and formulated over centuries of capitalist and patriarchal and white supremacist ideology. It's unnecessary. I think a lot of people don't realize like there's things there's shades of gray and everything, but
It's
right now
nuanced, y'all. Nuanced.
we, we love it.
Which I feel like, I mean, I think we hit all the major points. I don't know if you have any, I know you have some books that you definitely wanted to recommend for people to learn more
Yeah, I
about
think
AI, generative
yes,
AI.
yes, absolutely. This is the best part because this is the part we can clip and we can post on Instagram or TikTok and get
Well,
the
now we can't
views.
clip it because you said that.
Well, I'm not. Don't clip that part. So when we're talking about AI and Shy Girl, Daggermouth, and Silver Elite, here are some books that you should read. One is Feeding the Machine. This is a very interesting insight on all of the processes and moving parts of AI and its worker center, and it gives some really cool creative solutions. There's also Filter World, which I think is really good, and I think it'll make more sense of algorithms. There's also Snake Eye Oil. Wait, no. AI snake oil. I didn't say that right. That's another good one, and it kind of goes over some of the myths that a lot of people who are very staunchly anti AI hold, and it's done in a very accessible way. Like I think you could give it to your grandma, and she might even be able to understand it. Techno ableism is another good one, but it's not necessarily AI. It's just good. Those are my four that I would throw out there.
Yeah, I read Filter World. I mean, it's a very dry read, but it is obviously very informative, and it does highlight like the importance of human connection and how we need to start getting our recommendations from humans rather than algorithms, which again is focusing on community building, which TikTok used to be a place for that, but not so much anymore, you know?
Tis a bummer. It's really bad. Not everything's getting sold to us. But you know what I did watch that people might find interesting is there's this new bees documentary. I think it's on. I don't know. We were using somebody's Disney Plus account. I don't remember who. It's on there, but it's about bees, right? And and there's
Okay.
these little honeybees in Japan, and when the Japanese murder hornet bee, like they're huge, they're like
Oh,
this
yeah.
big, right? They try to go into their place, right? They realize that one bee alone can't take it down, so they all swarm it and get really hot and cook it. And I just was thinking, I was like, dang, the working class should also
Just
do
like us for
this.
real.
That's
This
just like us. So if you're
is what
looking for
Karl
some
Marx
sort of
said.
it's really great. Bees are incredible. But that's all. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any different recommendations on AI. It's not really my favorite subject to think about, and I think it's one of those things that I feel like a lot of people try to avoid like
It's
discussing
good
and
to
stuff
be
because it's
informed on it though. So
yeah.
and like that's I'm hoping this is a better direction than some people have taken. Obviously, Kristen was subjected to a very long and terrific time.
It was only an hour-long video, thankfully, and I put it in 2 times speed.
Terrifying, not terrific.
I put it in two
Sorry.
times speed, so I didn't have to watch it all. Well, I watched it all, but I watched it in 2 times speed. But I mean, we will link everything below that we referenced and checked out to discuss this video. It's a little bit more research than typical for us for a mini, but if you guys like this format, we obviously do book talks sometimes, but we could do more if you guys really want them, or if you have certain topics that you really would love for us to discuss. Which I think we try to get some hot topics, which this AI and book talk is piping hot right now. Which at the time, whenever we upload this, it probably won't be super hot, but I imagine they'll still. The thing is that this is a problem that's not going to go away. So we'll be in the heat of this until
And it's a
capitalism
thing that's going
falls.
to keep happening. So, no matter
Yeah,
what, even if it's not hot now, give it another 2 months and another
there'll be
book will
another
be.
book for us to start dunking on. But other than that, thank you for listening, and thank you, and good night.